and welcome back to part 2 of the tutorial on how to set up and use the Dialog Backend plugin. And this time we go for the widgets and how we change them from the default ones that come with the plugin, which are Dialog Front, Back, Bubble, and the preview, to our own custom ones. Since the Dialog Backend is UI agnostic, you can simply create your own custom user widget wherever and whenever you want. Add it to the project settings, make sure to implement the dialog interface, and it is good to go. Let's start by creating a front dialog widget, which is the main dialog widget for RPGs. To do this, let's create a new subfolder, call it UI. And we create a simple user widget. You can create whatever widget you want. If you use common UI, it could be an activatable widget or such. It doesn't matter. Everything is from a user widget. I call this window Dialog RPG. The first thing we want to do is go into the class settings of the graph. Go to the interfaces and hit add and search for dialog. And implement this interface. The next thing we want to do is to add a canvas in this case, or an overlay. I'm going for canvas right now. Inside, adding a size box and setting this to size to content. This will be our dialog window. Placing it at the bottom. No offset right now. Centered. And I'm giving this a width override of, let's say, 256, let's say 320, and it should be 150. We need to switch the alignment and position it a bit upwards, let's say by 10 pixels. We now construct our dialog window here. So we go for a horizontal box. The first one we want to do is adding a new size box, and inside we add an image. And the size box is centered left and will be of size 100 times 100. This will be our avatar image. And we call this here box avatar and image avatar. Not hit testable. Still, images are always set to visible. We don't always want this. We make both being variables because we need both of them. The next one is we want a border. Can be a bit bigger, that's okay. The box avatar, we give it a padding to the right of, let's say, 4. The border is filling up the rest of the image. Don't have a brush yet, but we can say, what was it? Was it box? UI border, yes, okay. The default texture. Draw as box in this case with 0.33, and we make this like a darker color right now. It has a lighter frame. Alright, the border needs a content padding. So the content padding is 4:2. We go for 4 into all directions, and now we add a rich text to it. Top left. Text style doesn't matter right now. We add a second border. Select both and say wrap with a vertical box. So while the bottom border gets filled completely. The top border gets filled horizontally and then is on top. This is also a padding of 4,4. This will be our name box. So we can here and say this is the speaker and this is the message. Now in the construct and pre-construct, tick is not needed. We go for a function called ensure decorators. And we select our speaker. And we select our message. No. This is an individual node. Yes, of course. So. We're reparsing the text. Debug is not needed. If we now compile, you see the text is much smaller. We have a style set here, and we have decorator classes added. This function makes sure everything is set up correctly. Technically, this could be our dialog window right now. I'm selecting this vertical box again and wrap it with an overlay. Need to make the vertical box filling the overlay. This is a reason because we also need a button right now. Place it on the bottom left and we say the render opacity to 0.3. Alright, this is our button to continue. Collapsed by default. We now have the box avatar as variable, we have the image avatar as variable, the text speaker, text message, both variables, and the button continue. What we now do, we open the interfaces above the variables and say on dialog updated. This one simply has current data, which we promote to a variable. We can leave it as that, we make it private, nothing else has to take his hands on this. We take the current data and from here we can break. And this current data has lots of infos. First of all, it has the speaker name and the message, an avatar, an option icon, which is technically if you have an option to select, for example, reputation systems, you can set up the option icon here, which then could be shown beside the text. You can have a message sound, which plays at additional objects that are delivered within the dialog, and so on and so on. For this one, we hide everything and simply call the message. We take our message variable. You can simply drag it inside a view with a control. And from here we use set text. The same for the speaker. Control D, by the way, to duplicate. We copy our struct breaking. We don't want to reuse the same. And go for the speaker. And technically this would show us the first message directly. To show this, we go into project settings, BDC Dialog Backend settings, and here the front dialog we change to the RPG. If we now hit play and move to our NPC, our dialog window is used here with the hi there text. We have no speaker name set in the dialog, so it's not shown. I can show this quickly. Go into content and say here you are the green guy. For this one we set another avatar image, which will be then red guy. Saving. So green guy is set here. We have no continue yet, we come to this later, but the message appears. We now go for the avatar. So in the current data we take the avatar image, And you may notice this here is not blue, this is light blue. This is because all of these are soft references. We first need to check if this is a valid reference. Always do this. Never use a reference without checking if it's valid. Alright. If it's not valid, we take our box avatar and set the visibility to collapsed. This not also makes the avatar box disappearing, but also makes the message box taking up the space completely to the left. It makes the message box bigger. If we have a valid avatar with true, we set it to not testable so the mouse doesn't react to it. The next we want is to set the image avatar, and we set brush from soft texture and link this up. If you want to make this a bit more clean, use reroutes. Alright, now we have an avatar image. Can show right now. Here you see avatar image is given. If we go on to our dialog and we clear this one, you now see the message box takes up the whole space and no avatar is shown. This technically can be your whole setup of a dialog system. But we also need a continue version. We move the avatar stuff a bit out and add a sequencer. You can type sequence in, you can simply hold S and left click. We now take our button continue and say set visibility to be visible. In this case we use visible because it has to react to the mouse. We duplicate this one, moving everything we got to the right. And set the visibility here to collapsed. Right at the start of each update. Why we come to later. Now the button on clicked. We have a specific function to continue a dialog from the first node to the next node. And this is simply an inject continue. It doesn't have any parameters, it doesn't have any fancy optic, simply this. If we now play, we have this little button here. If we click, it continues the dialog. If we click, it ends the dialog and we can move again. And with this, a simple dialog system is done. The next step would be to give the player something to interact with, not just the button to continue the dialogue. For this, we change our really straight dialogue here to something with options. To add an option, you can hold O and click left or right click in the graph and select option. We go for the shorter path. I am selecting 2 options. All of them to the same end for now. The avatar would be green guy. That's okay. I will also add this as his name. I could also have copied it over, but okay for now. Good as first message. Let's go for the second message. Feeling bad. Alright, we added options here. The problem is these options won't show up in the dialog right now, even if we add them. The reason for this is because we don't have a widget to actually show them. We'll do this right now. We create a new user widget. We call this option dialog. This widget simply gets a size box added. We say each option is 28 in height and 256 in length. We will add a button to it. Now the important part, first of all, the padding should be 0 for everything. We set the draw as to none. This makes the button invisible, but keeps it active. It still has boundaries. We now go into our dialog and simply copy over this border with the message into the button, and this button select what is now. We now need to also copy over the ensuring, since this is also a rich text which needs a style and decorators and stuff. So copy over the ensuring, plug it in, and everything is set up for you. We now need to add the options to something. For this, beside our overlay with the text, we add another vertical box. For now. Oops. So. We give it a padding to the left of 4 and make it top left as alignment. We call this option content and make it a variable. This now is visible. We can make it collapsed if pleased, but we also will do this in code now. First of all, we cut off the sequence a second and make this button visibility go away. The dialog backend now has a function to check if the front dialog actually has options. Get available options. This is, yes, get available options. So we first need to check if there are any available options. If no, we can simply continue the dialog because we have no options yet. And we also make the option content visibility to collapsed, while we make it not hit testable in the top. And the second, we clear all children of this box, so it gets emptied. Even if it has no content, we should do this. So we now know we have options here, so available options is we can drag a line here out and give in a for each loop. You can also hit F and left click to add in a for each loop. But this links it up for us directly. In the body we create a widget, which will be our option dialog. And we take our option content again and say add child. Now important, never use the bottom one, never. Always use the one which is named for the container you want to add child to. So we now are adding options, but the widgets will always look like this. So we need to pass the option some data. The first one will be a dialog option dataset. We say this option data. We made expose and spawn and editable. If you don't know the exact type here, you can go to the available options and it has the same data type as dialog dataset option. We need a second variable. This is the option index. Make it an integer, expose and spawn, editable. All right. We can now copy the set text from here. We also do this in the construct and pre-construct. We take our option dataset and break it. and we just need the message right now. You can do more fancy stuff, but we will do this right now this way. And if we go now back in here, you can right click and refresh this. If it's not actually there, we have the option and the option index and link it up to the for each outputs. Now the thing is, we have options and these options will appear here, but they don't do anything. And this is because we have a button to select the option, which on clicked is here, but it won't do anything. Because how will it tell the dialog to continue in this one? The easiest way is pretty simple. To use select option and go for the option index. You can do it right in the dialog tree because this one always faces the current opened front dialog. If we now go in and hit good, it ends because good is the option we have selected. We can also say feeling bad, it's the same. If you want feedback of the selected option, you can either set a new message note behind, which express it better, or you can set use as message upon selection and make it true. If we now head in, select our option, it will show this option directly as a message. So you don't have to set up here a second message node. It is all done for you. And this is pretty much the basic interaction system. You can do the options as ever you want. This now is a vertical list. You can do a radial menu or such. That's not a problem. The continue button will only appear if the option is there. You can also make this button appear with options, like edit here. Hit play. Continue, and the button is still here, and if we click on it, the dialog ends. This is because we also have this output of the message node. If we have options, this output here means like the user aborts the selection, or it's an additional selection or something, and also has to be hooked up to an end or anything other. You can use this, for example, hey, you have 3 options to choose from, and the player can also choose, no, I don't want to. No, we have a fully functional messaging system here. Next one is how to make the other widgets for the system. The dialog system also has a subtitle function, which is normally used for drawing over videos, simply subtitles. We don't want to use message boxes for this, so we need a second widget. We go for user interface and say blueprint. User widget, it's okay. We say Windows subtitle. Let's just say this. You cannot select the widget right now here, even it exists. This is because this is also important for the front widget. You cannot select it here until you add the Dialog UI interface. So now it's there. This is just a safety measure. All right, how we do this? I again here add a canvas. I'm adding a canvas because this is a full screen menu in this case, so it's absolutely okay to do this in this. I'm adding a rich text, simply as that. Maybe wrapped inside a vertical box, duplicating it. So this is txt speaker. This is txt message. The vertical box again gets to a size box. Here's sometimes we do this stuff. So I'm going for 800 wide. Height does not need to be that big. 64, let's say 78 is okay. Centered on the screen. Alignment Y needs to be 1 because we're setting it at the bottom. Centered, position X is 0 and position Y is -10, so 10 pixels from the bottom. The speaker name to the left, the message to the left, and up, and up. Okay. So with DXT speaker, with DXT message, like in the front dialog, we go for the ensure function twice. It up. We take the speaker, we take the message, compile, and we have all decorators and stuff set up. Now, since we have the dialog, we go simply for the dialog update. We take our speaker for set text, same for the message, and we also want to promote this to a variable and make this private. So we have the data as a variable so we can use it in the whole graph. Again, we break this. Technically, you could copy everything over from the dialog front window. So, now I have good news for you. This is everything to do here. We have a test dialog, we have options, and we have to set up a subtitle here as a back dialog. If we now open up our NPC, where we start the dialog, we can also set here background task, subtitle. Now it's important, you may see we have no buttons or such thing. If we play and we hit it, the text appears here at the bottom, pretty short. We go into the dialog and we go in here, and for the subtitles, it's good to have the auto forward next after set. So if we say this message appears for 2 seconds, it now is also on the note. This message appears also for 2 seconds, and they get skipped. Even if you have them added, they get skipped, you cannot use them. And if you go now in, this message appears, 2 seconds. Oh, I missed something. This one has to be message, not speaker name. Message here. This message appears for 2 seconds, then automatically forwards to the next message, then automatically ends. The subtitle system automatically uses the auto continue. If you don't set auto continue here, it instantly forwards without a waiting. So keep in mind, auto forward next after is mandatory for subtitles. You can also delay this any further with a delay node, which is D and left click. And the delay node you can set, for example, 3 seconds waiting time, or you can even add tick on 60 frames per second basis. So if we go now in, first message appears, then after 2 seconds, it technically waits 3 seconds before the next one appears. In the subsystem, which is on dialog, maybe hide. And with this one, we simply copy over the 2 set texts in here. And hit play. It now waits 2 seconds, then hides for 3 seconds, and then the next message pops up. So So this one here is called whenever a dialog is continued and you want in between the continue to the next node, no other node to be shown or no message to be shown. Now we have a third type of a dialog, not only front or back, we also have a bubble, which is component-based dialog. For this we need a new component attached to anything in here. This must be a scene component and called DialogBubble. It is case insensitive, but dialog and bubble, the D and the B writing in uppercase is also okay. I'm adding this to both measures. The actually character a bit above the head, and the same for the NPC, oops, a bit above the head, and this is automatically detected by the dialog actor. We need a new widget for this. We go for a user interface, blueprint, new widget. We call this window dialog bubble. Again, the first thing to do is add the interface for the dialog. And at the top of the project settings, we can add this window dialog bubble. So the bubble widget is a bit different. We add a size box here. We add a border. Do as you please with this. I think I have a bubble, text speech bubble. Yes, let's see here. We draw a box 0.33. Is it this? Yes, I think. Rather higher. Let's say 128 to 128. All right. We need a padding of, let's say, 2. I'm making this tint a bit transparent, let's say. So we now need a rich text, of course, and this is simply txt message. And as before, we need the ensure txt message, and we need our dialog update. You can hold the data, private, set text of the rich, take the current data, break it, use the message and hide everything else, makes it cleaner, and we will want the dialog height and set visibility of self to be collapsed. After changing the dialog, make it visible. We also have another option here we can add, and this is left speaker, which would mean we have this little tail here on the bubble which goes to the left. If it's the right speaker, we need to change this a bit. So I'm going for a select node on this boolean, which is, by the way, always the third from the bottom select with this little icon here. I'm taking the border and say this is border bubble. That's fine. And for border bubble, I say set render scale in this case. Bring this up to the select, and I go for the same with the text. So if it's the left speaker, we leave it like this, 1 and 1. And if it's the right speaker, called left is false, we make -1 and 1. For the right speaker, we simply mirror this bubble horizontally, which also means the text is drawn horizontally mirrored. So we set this to mirror it again, countering the border bubble. I think we can try what is coming in here. NPC. We have the dialog bubble set. What now is important, we have the participant tag here. We have screen space set, and you see we have all the widget components here. You can also change the scaling. For text bubbles, it's always better to have this widget being really, really big, because you want a really, really big font size here, and simply scale it down so the font is crisp and not pixelated, which happens on dialog components or widget components with a small font size. We have here set this character has test. This is also okay. And we start with both participants here. Also important is in the dialog, you have to set up tags for this participant. So if we say the green guy is the player, we go for speaking participant. Player is test in our case. And the red guy is NPC. This one is the enhanced input tag here right now. If we go in and play, the message up here. Now, this has some interesting functionality. While you can only have one front dialog opened and one subtitle dialog, you can have multiple bubble dialogues started at the same time. So you can, for example, if your player is in a crowded scene and you want 20 NPCs talk to each other in different groups, you can start, let's say, 6 or 7 bubble dialogues, and the player sees their bubbles popping up in this crowd, in these routes placed above their heads. And the interesting part, you can also have a front dialogue started at the same time, even with the participants inside. So if I would now start a front dialogue with these participants, their bubbles will pause for the time the front dialogue is running. Same thing is if you have a back dialogue, a subtitle running, you can also have bubble dialogues running in the background. So that if your camera in a sequencer cutscene flies over the world, you can see the bubbles of NPCs talking while subtitles of something is running at the bottom. So let's go to the final widgets, and this is pretty simple. If you have our dialog here, let's first from the last ring set it to front again. If we have our dialog here and click on this, we still see this default widget I created. You may want your own one. And for this, we simply copy over the RPG and call it, for example, preview. Inside of this, we simply set this to desired. So we have this little widget here. We can have all of this into, but we will remove the button. We don't need it. Yes, can be removed. That's okay. Remove the one button down. We will remove everything that is with options. And simply keep it as this. So we have no button in the bottom left or bottom right. We have no option box here, so the option content also can go. We just leave avatar text and speaker name. We now go into project settings, and then we have dialog preview box widget. We go inside and we call this window dialog. Oh no, we have 2 times here. see which one is which. Named it the same way, so selecting this one and hitting the small arrow will give me the right one. Go into the content browser, open the dialog, and if we hit, we have our message box here in the top. You can resize this box so your message box actually fits in. You can also see the size of this current canvas. This is a canvas. You can drag it around as you please and always have your preview inside. And that's all. This is how you create the widgets for the Dialog Backend. I hope you will watch the future videos and the other videos in this playlist, because the next one is additional functionality, and then we come to the individual nodes explained.